There's nothing quite like a good track day. The early morning start, the bacon baps, the banter with the other drivers in the pit lane, the driver's briefing, acknowledging all the rules, overtaking on one side only, no timing. And then there's that feeling of that super smooth tarmac. It's quite unlike anything you've driven on before. It all probably starts with a hot hatch, then maybe a sports car, maybe even get to run a supercar. The very fortunate among us will get to run something a bit more specific, something purposely tuned for the track, like a GT3 RS or a 488 Pista. But when you've done all that, and when a Pista doesn't tickle your pickle anymore, and your pockets still have notes flowing out of them, what exactly do you do for your fuel-burning, fun-having? Hypercars have been here for a while. They're said to be a reflection of tomorrow delivered today, hence the obsession with augmenting conventional power with hybrid. But if that isn't your bag and you don't want tomorrow delivered today, you want something mad, still focused on the track, but without that hybrid weight disadvantage, then what do? What do you get? A 5.9XX, you say? Zonda R maybe? Good luck getting one. Well, if you're that person, then the engineers over at Brabham have something just for you. This then is the Brabham BT62, a car made to demand more from its driver. They say, and I quote, "It's a car for those who want to challenge themselves and push themselves to experience driving in its purest form." It's a unique proposition, featuring a hybrid not in the conventional terms of battery assistance, but a delectable mix of GT1 and LMP2 levels of performance, sitting somewhere in between the two. Perhaps we should view it as a more unrestricted GT car. It features fixed aero, no active aero here, this is just as a race car would be. It's got a huge rear diffuser to aid in ground generated downforce. And just look at that aero contouring down its flanks. This is a car that's been designed with function first, but still with care paid to its form. Well, unlike another track-focused hypercar that shall remain nameless. This car spent a great deal of time in CFD, and it shows. With all that aero, it produces 1,200 kilos of downforce, technically enough to be able to drive upside down. Body weight is dry, clean under 1,000 kilos, which is exceptionally light for a full-bodied car. It's powered by a naturally aspirated 5.4 litre V8 producing 700 brake horsepower. That's right, you heard that correctly. No turbos, no supercharger, all motor. A couple of taps on a calculator will reveal that means it has 730 PS per tonne or 653 brake horsepower per tonne, depending on how you like to calculate your power. Factor in that even with a big V8 packed into its midship, it still maintains a perfect 50-50 weight distribution. Inside, it's equally special. Prominent exposed carbon, GT3 style steering wheel, LMP style centre stack, and it's hard to miss that iPad-esque 12-inch central display that doubles as a rear view mirror. And then there are those seats. FIA homologated, full carbon. They're a bit special, aren't they? A full carbon body is what helps to keep the weight down, underpinned by F1 style pushrod suspension featuring Olin dampers, Brembo brakes, and specially fabricated Michelin race tyres. It even has air jacks, and things are getting pretty serious when you've got air jacks by default. All of this is all yours for a cool 1 million plus taxes. Bargain. Right, briefing done, wristbands on, out on the track we go. This current glut of supercars and track special, they're all capable of punching over and above their classes, so it's going to be interesting to see how they stack up to something with these kind of credentials. What exactly does a BT62 do to the likes of 911 Turbo, Aventador, 720S and co? Well, we shall see, ladies and gentlemen, we shall see. It's an outrageous piece of kit, this. It feels really special here, and it must be absolutely gargantuan in the metal. Engine note screaming race car all the time. The sound modders have done a job here. This sounds awesome. sounds quite similar to the real car. No rollover this thing, absolutely not. There are cars like that GT3 RS that are designed to bend tracks into submission, and this just demolishes them. Production of these was limited to 70 units only. Basically, that's a nod to the amount of years of racing heritage that Brabham had up until the car's launch in 2018. And that's a good segue really, because it's good to know a couple of things about Brabham and why they're such a highly regarded racing brand. It's a brand that's effectively come back from the ashes, but it has some very, very impressive heritage and racing pedigree. So basically, it all started with Jack. And, well, probably more appropriately, Sir Jack Brabham. So Jack was an aircraft mechanic, and he set up a machine shop making race car parts. And there was one day a chap called Johnny Schomburg came and asked for a midget race car to be built for him so he could go racing on the Australian Speedway. Now Jack helped Johnny Schomburg race around for a bit, until a time where eventually Schomburg's wife talked him into hanging up his racing boots, which effectively left Jack with a race car on his hands. And in Aussie fashion, he thought, why the hell not? It's for you, single racer. Obviously, he had to start at the back due to being a novice, but unbelievably, it only took 3 races before he'd won his first series race. Such was his driving talent. He made his way over to the UK around about 1955, and he saw motorsport happening at what was frankly a completely different level, and that really caught his interest. And he stayed, and like an absolute boss, within 4 years he'd actually become Formula 1 world champion. He took that success and effectively matured it into becoming the Brabham Formula 1 team. That was not it. He then went on to become Formula 1 drivers champion in 1959, 1960 and 1966, in total contesting 126 Grand Prix between 1955 and 1970. Basically, there were 14 Grand Prix wins in there, and he's the only driver in all of Formula 1 history to be able to win a championship in a car under his own construction. Unbelievable. Overall, the Brabham team scored 35 victories, including Jack's 14. What do we have here? Cheeky 812 and Performante. Now, Brabham also introduced some very key innovations to Formula 1, such as in-race fueling, carbon brakes and hydropneumatic suspension. And if that wasn't legacy enough, his sons David and Jeff, they became professional race drivers as well. David winning 3 international sports car titles, and also, just in case the 3 international sports car titles weren't enough, becoming a multiple Le Mans winner. The pedigree is clearly strong in the Brabhams. Now it's actually David who's responsible for bringing this absolute epic monster into fruition, which effectively brings us back to the topic of this BT62. It's funny because Brabham's been quite coy about the origins of this 5-litre V8. There's not a lot of them around, so it's not that hard to guess where it came from. Think about it, 5-litre V8, what cars? Yeah, a lot of work's gone into making it produce quite this much power, so I guess I can appreciate why they're being that coy about it. .720S. That thing can really put the hammer down. Show it some corners in this thing though. Night night McLaren. Even if you run a reasonable amount of traction control in this car, there's still a fair amount of work for you to be able to keep this car pointing in the right direction. And the reality is, this car is going to be driven with some level of traction control. Much like any of the GT series cars, they come with traction control. You can figure how much slip you want to be able to have on it. This is one of those mods where, rightfully, it does encourage you to try and drive with the correct level of traction control for you. Of course you can drive it without, but I can almost assure you your lap time is probably not going to be as quick. But hey, each to their own. haven't even turned a proper lap yet. I feel like I have to box. I have to take a little break. The feedback on this mod's really engaging. There's a lot of steering feel. Feels like a real handful of a car. This is one to try out. It really is. Yes, it's ridiculous what this does to your conventional supercar. It does beg the question though. How well does it fare in its own company? When you put it out with some real tarmac terrorists, can it really live with its own kind of metal? We can see what it does to a supercar, but what does it do to hypercars, or ultimate track days as they're probably appropriately called? So off we go. McLaren P1 GTR, 1000 brake horsepower, around 1000 Newton meters of torque in that thing too. Weighs a bit more though, around 1400 kilograms. And then there's the Zonda R, very similar performance figures, 700 brake horsepower, 700 Newton meters of torque. Whoa, easy. Slightly over-exuberant driving there from P1 driver. So realistically, I don't think we're going to be able to live with that. I mean, look at it go. Look, it's got to be that augmentation from the hybrid power plant. Just hammers in a straight line. I don't think we can live with that. But we should be able to have an interesting challenge with that Zonda R. Again. Opportunity knocks. We will take it. Thank you very much. I don't think we're going to be able to keep that behind us for very long. I really don't. Power to weight ratio, Zonda R slightly down. I think 699 brake horsepower per tonne. P1 is 709.2, so it's actually identical to the BT62. So here we go. Look at it go. Look at that thing go. Yeah, we're never going to keep that behind us. Double bubble for the P1, 2 for the price of 1. Right, that's cool. Off you go. Gives us a chance to focus on the Zonda R, which, I mean, it's got some really serious aero on there. Look, massive rear diffuser, huge rear wing. It's got to be generating some serious downforce. That I wasn't able to establish how much. You know, we're going to have a look on the inside here. Right, I think that's it. I think that's job done. Oh no! No, okay. Okay. Okay, so you had quite a bit more grip going through there. We lost a lot of traction there. Right, let's try and reel this back in. Right, so going back to the downforce, I wasn't able to find out the exact amount of downforce that the Zonda R generates, but the BT62 kicks up around about 1200 kilograms, which, you know, when you've... Oh no, you don't. You're boxing right now. Oh. Right. Okay. Right, we'll get you back out on track again. Right, back out on track. You box before, you cheeky Pagani driver. Right, let's see what happens now. As I said before, the downforce levels, I couldn't verify exactly how much the Zonda has, but I can't imagine it's got more than this. So we should hold a bit of an advantage in the turns with it all hopefully level and straight away. So let's see how we get on. Nice. That's it. Yeah, that's pretty even. steer. Let's have a look. Around the outside. Okay. So much grip in this car. Quick upshift. Need to upshift quite early though at times because the rear likes to get away from you when you get on it. When you get on it really hard, really aggressively, it just snaps away. I lost a little bit in the straights there. You need to reel him back in. Decent under braking this thing. Right, focus. Early on the power. Right, let's see if we can make something stick here. Really close the gap. Little look down the inside. Same move as before. Have we got it? Have we got it? No, again! Oh, denies again. Okay. Goes to show just how evenly matched these things are. Both running really wide there. Okay, okay. Right, I'm going to have to close the gap again. Head down. It's always capable of closing the gap. So I do think that it's got some element of downforce advantage. We must have here. A little twitch. Right, here we go. Final attempt. Close the gap. Power. Get a good exit out onto the straightaway. Not going to get him on the straight, but we want to be as close as possible going into that same turn. So let's hit this down. Let's send it! Yeah, that was pretty Daniel Ricciardo, that wasn't it? Sent it, and it's job done. Right. So, BT62 does seem to have a little bit of an advantage over the Zonda R. Yeah, it's amazing how much lap time you lose when you're battling out on track. In the previous session, I think the quickest lap that I've done was a 1:02.1, thereabouts, something like that. But as soon as you're mixing it up, as soon as you're dicing with these other cars, you literally just start dropping the time, you drop a couple of seconds right off the bat. Right, let's see if we can get back into the 102s. Final fast lap. Let's use the clear track to be able to get a decent run and see what we can... It's interesting. Even battling on track, we got back into the 102s. Late, mind you. So I guess, well, you'd imagine that completely clear air, we should really be into the 101s. Interesting. Okay, let's wind it down. Time to bring this thing back to the pits. What a bit of kit, eh? Really serious piece of kit. Really does leave an impression. So there you have it, the Brabham BT62 out on track, which is one of the only places that you're unlikely to see it. With a conversion cost of £150,000 to make it road legal, you're as likely to see it on the road as you are at your local track day. This really is reserved for the most exclusive track day play sessions. It does speak to the redundancy of this ultimate track toy genre of cars. They don't really resonate with me personally at all, but perhaps they're not supposed to. Extremely wealthy would-be but can't be race drivers are most likely their owners. But then maybe we're not that different to them. would-be race drivers that find another way to scratch the itch. Food for thought, I guess. With all of that said, 2019 did see an important announcement for the Brabham BT62. It finally has a real purpose. It's going to become a real race car, and that will happen when it's entered into the new hypercar class at Le Mans in 2021. Bravo. Well done, Brabham. Bravo.